Mark. How you doing?
Hi, Stauffer. I'm doing well. How about you?
Good. Well, congratulations. It's a promotion, albeit you've been part of the staff for the last several years. Your thought on this opportunity to take over the team's defense and continue with your roles and responsibilities on the PK?
Well, thank you. Yeah, my family and I are thrilled about it. We've really enjoyed Edmonton. I've enjoyed my working relationship with everyone there. I mean, what an organization to be a part of. So, I couldn't be more thrilled about the opportunity and the new challenges, that this role will provide.
Are you over how it ended this year yet? Like, what, or do you still have? I mean, the last 2 years have been about as good as you can get without winning the Cup, losing in 7, one bounce away against Florida in 24. I think, in fairness, this past year the team kind of ran out of steam a bit, but it still went 6 games in the series. Usually that tends to be a bounce here or there, though they did outscore the Oilers 28-17. Where's your headspace at with all this right now, Mark?
Yeah, I don't think you ever really get over it. I mean, I don't think you ever get over losing in the Stanley Cup final. I mean, it's something you'll think about for the rest of your life. I mean, hopefully there's something in between there that helps take a bit of the sting away. But at the same time, you're able to take a little bit of time away, spend some time with your family, get a little bit of a breather, and your mind switches now, getting ready for next season. So it's a pretty short feeling, but I don't think it ever leaves your mind.
How important are analytics and video going to be for you in terms of assisting and coaching your defense?
Well, I have a lot of respect for the analytics side of the game. I think we have a great staff that provides us coaches with a ton of information, and it can be extremely beneficial. So that's something I've used in the past and going to use even more now in this role. And as for video, I mean, coming from college hockey 3 years ago or 4 years ago, I mean, you obviously have a lot more opportunities to show video during the week in college hockey. It's a little bit more of a balance, in the NHL. You're not keeping guys in the meeting room for much longer than 5-10 minutes, at most times. But you got to pick your spots, and I think the most important thing is doing your work so that you're showing them the most important things they need to see. It's not always quantity, it's the quality of the clips. And I think every player is different. Some guys, want to see everything, so you almost have to dial them back a little bit. Some guys really don't want to see anything, so you got to, show them a little bit, at times. Some guys like to learn through, on ice demonstration, things like that, or the old whiteboard. So I think it's a mix of everything, and you got to find what works for each player.
What's interesting is I'm thinking of the last 3 defense coaches the Oilers have had. Dave Manson basically played every role during his NHL career. He came in as a hard-nosed third-pairing defenseman that would fight. His reputation, Charlie Manson back in the day, and involved in that memorable brawl with the Maple Leafs when Denny Savard was getting worked over with Lehman. And then Dave Manson, as things progressed, became a power play guy, unleashing bombs from the point. And then he finished his career kind of as a shutdown defenseman. Wasn't really necessarily, so he kind of did different jobs. Paul Coffey, one of the greatest defensemen in the history of the National Hockey League, and an offensive genius, a brilliant skater. I think his defensive ability was probably underestimated at times. I think, Mark, it's fair to say you were a competitive 4 or 5 defenseman during the course of your career. Do you think that manifests the way you played it all into for a defenseman into how a guy approaches the games, or are you a guy who you're going to want your D, even though maybe though you weren't, I think by your own admission you were not an elite, you're a strong shutdown guy but not an elite puck mover. You're going to still want your guys making plays and getting the puck up the ice and that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and those descriptions are very fair to say. I was more of a shutdown competitive, hard-nosed defenseman. But I think when I was playing, it probably amped up a lot more as I got later in my career and started to think about coaching. But I always wanted to learn. I always sat in on the power play meetings, even though I knew I had 0% of ever being on it. Just because I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn what the power play coach was looking for. But mostly I wanted to see if it could help out my penalty killing. So I feel like along the way, I learned from a lot of those offensive defensemen. I played with some really good ones, spending the last couple of years with Koff. His mind, definitely works differently than mine. I think we all us coaches see the game a little bit differently, but that's why you have a staff and you learn from each other every single day. But for me, the game's changed so much, even for my career. It's changed so much. Defensemen have to be two-way. It doesn't matter if you're a 6. You have to be able to provide offensively. You have to be able to break a puck out. You have to be efficient with your puck play. So I think I'm fortunate with the group that we have. I think we have, from top to bottom, those types of defensemen. And, those are things I'm going to encourage for sure.
So there's a guy out there by the name of Dom Lucician who writes for The Athletic, and he tends to be right a fair amount, okay? He does things like, playoff predictors in terms of the probability that a team will, make the playoffs or win a round, etc. And he put out a post right around free agency that ranked the Edmonton Oilers the best defense in the NHL on paper, which I think surprised some people. But the reality is a healthy Matthias Ekholm with Evan Bouchard, Darnell Nurse, I think in theory probably with Jake Wallman, Brett Kulak with either Emerson or Stetcher. And he actually said, because he ranked all the 32 teams, and the Oilers were ranked first, he actually said the team doesn't need anything based on these 7 players, which I know a few people out there were kind of surprised. Do you think you got a lot to work with, Mark? Because there are people that think you have a lot to work with.
Yeah, I do. I feel fortunate to be able to work with the players that we have. But we got to put in the work. On paper for sure. We have on paper right now, 7 defensemen with experience. You look at Ty Emerson, he's got the least experience, but he's got 106 games under his belt now. I think he's ready to take the next step. Obviously health is going to play a major role in everything, but we have a lot of great pieces back there. Everybody brings a little something different. But like I said before, I think all of them can bring that two-way game and can move pucks. And in today's game, that's the biggest thing, being able to skate, defend with your feet and advance pucks to your forward and get involved in the offense.
I like continuity, Mark, and there were times, even during the Stanley Cup final, there was a lot of mixing and matching, and part of it was injury-related. You had Ekholm coming back from, significant, as we later found out, a groin injury. In a perfect world, would you like to stick with, 3 concrete tandems if the team's healthy?
Yeah, in a perfect world, I would. I just, my line of thinking behind that, and of course, things happen, obviously injuries, but, there might be really tough stretches where you have to mix things up. But I think it's important for D pairs to go through the ups and downs together. I think it really builds that relationship, and it is a relationship. It's no different than a starting goalie, backup goalie. They have some sort of relationship. A center with his wingers, I think D partners have that relationship, and if you can build that over a season and find that chemistry, I think that's important. So I think anytime you can. A lot of things have to fall into place. I like that continuity for sure.
All right. Evan Bouchard took on some penalty killing responsibility out of necessity last year in the playoffs. How would you, as a guy that heads up the PK, how did you think Bouch did in that role?
I thought he did great. I think, as a penalty killer, it's important to get your reps. And I think if you talk to a forward or defenseman, the more reps you're getting, the easier it is to jump out there, especially in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You're feeling comfortable. Your reads are quicker. You're not having to think too much. You're just you're using your feet and your stick. And for Bush to step in, and help us out the way he did, I mean, it was pretty impressive. That's not easy to do. But I think it's a testament to the player he is, but also the brain that he has. He thinks the game so well. There's not many guys that could just step in and do that. And obviously his skill set serves him well on the PK as well. I mean, he's a guy that can grab the puck and get it down the ice for you. Skates well, defended well with his stick. So, you know what? I told Bush after the season I thanked him because he did help us out a ton back there.
We're joined by Edmonton Oilers assistant coach Mark Stewart. Bob Stauffer with you on Oilers Now. Mark is our headliner today for Will Hawk Beef Jerky. So, Mark, I've been doing this show on Ched here since 2011. Been doing a show in Edmonton since 2003. There's an old saying: it's never as bad as people think it is when times are tough, and it's never as great as it is when people think it's really going good. You know what I'm saying? And so now I'm going to bring up your penalty kill, because it was unreal during the playoffs. And really, from when Chris Knobloch took over, and you guys specified and delineated roles, especially for the forwards, I think that helped out. The team started 3-9-1, but from that point on, the rest of the season, I think you guys were 6th or 7th in penalty killing in the regular season, and then last year in the playoffs, you were unreal. In the 2024 playoffs, you're at 94%. You're in the 60s this year, and it really started in the regular season right at the start of the year. Seemingly couldn't get a stop, but I know we don't want to point the finger on the goaltenders here. It was a unit as a whole. It was not at the level that it was the year before, and it played a factor, made things tough at times in the playoffs. How much evaluation have you taken a look at your PK as a whole, and from a pure system perspective, should we be expecting something different with the Oilers next season with how you're going to penalty kill?
Yeah, I mean, it's something dove into deeply all year long. Try to put our finger on, because we did have some great stretches, but that start really put us back. And then, they just could not find the consistency throughout the regular season. And then in the playoffs, I mean, if you look at it, pretty much the start of the series was pretty much like the start of the regular season. We just couldn't get off to a good start. We were able to find our footing as they went, able to help out the team and contribute to some wins, but just wasn't good enough. It just wasn't good enough all year long. So, yeah, definitely going to make some adjustments. The system that we ran, still like that system, but the game's always evolving. You're not seeing a lot of teams run that system. It obviously worked for us the year before. It was something that we felt comfortable entering the season doing again, just because we had so much success and we felt comfortable with our personnel. But yeah, it's something you're always looking at, and every year obviously brings some guys moving out, some guys coming in. What system sets up best for those players? What system sets up best for your goaltender as well?
All right. In a perfect world, how many D would kill penalties?
Well, in a perfect world, you have 4. I think we're fortunate. We have a lot of guys that can do it. So it's going to be. Some we'll look at over the summer, and as far as who we want playing with who, and then it's, performance-based, how guys are doing. But, those are times also where you lean on the analytical department, and they can give you a little bit of help there as to, which pairs work better together, because it's very different. It can be very different from 5-on-5. Just because a pair is really good 5-on-5 together, it doesn't always translate to the penalty kill.
Could we foresee a re-engaged Matthias Ekholm and Ty Emerson together? Is that a possibility?
That is, yeah. That was a good pair for us. That was a good pair for us in the regular season, and we were able to find some pairs and some forward pairs as well. Throughout the season during stretches, we just felt like we had to mix and match a little bit more than we typically had to the year before. So yeah, again, this is all going to be how guys come in, how they perform, and then, and as injuries as the season goes.
Well, you could have a scenario if you look at it. We're joined by Mark Stewart, the Oilers defense coach. I mean, Bouchard basically played 25 minutes a game last year. Nurse played roughly 22. Wallman came in, played 21. Ekholm played 20 to 21, and Kulak got up to 20. That's 5 guys playing 20 minutes. So injury played a little bit of a factor in that. And then I think off the top of my head, maybe Emerson was like at 12 and a half to 13 minutes a game, down to 10 minutes a game in the playoffs. Is it logical to assume we might see more of the same where you got 5D playing 20-plus minutes?
I mean, that's something I'm going to have to manage. I think Ty is ready to take that next step. I think he needs to take that next step. And if he comes into camp, and which I have no doubt he will, ready to go and ready to start the season. Also have Troy Stetcher. Are they able to earn more minutes? And that's something that we'll keep a close eye on. But again, to have 5 guys that are not only physically, but just in the way they play, able to play those types of minutes, I mean, it's a good problem to have. And then it's my job to manage it.
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins amongst the forward units. Again, Mark Stewart joining us. He coaches the D, but also the penalty kill. RNH touches every aspect of the Oilers game. I mean, he's on the first line. He's on the first power play unit. He's on the first penalty killing unit with Adam Henrique. I know at times you guys use Podkolzin and Kapanen together. Janmark was a big penalty killer. The Oilers might have to get creative here with the cap. Connor Brown will not be back, and he was usually the second offensive or the second forward grouping that went out there. Do you have somebody that looks to be in the short, would you hesitate at all using a Matt Savoy, who was with Noah Philp on the second PK unit down in Bakersfield for most of the season?
No, I wouldn't. I heard a lot of good things about Savvy in Bakersfield on the penalty kill. Everybody knows on the PK, obviously you need the defensive aspects, you need the stick, but he's quick. And the way we're going to kill, we need quickness, especially with our forwards being able to close quick and pressure and kill plays. So, no, absolutely. There's going to be a few guys that are going to get some good looks, and I'm excited about the additions we've made to our roster, and excited to see how they fit not only 5-on-5 but on special teams. And
I'd be remiss without asking, you didn't have a right-handed face-off option really last year, right? I mean, you take a look at what the Oilers were rolling with, and you had McDavid, Draisaitl, Henrique, and Janmark over the course of the playoffs. Curtis Lazar is signed on a league minimum. He is a right shot. He has killed. I've watched Curtis play a lot. I would not describe him as quick. He's a strong player, but he is a right shot. Is he going to factor into the mix, you think, on the PK?
Yeah, I mean, he can take draws, and that is a big piece of the penalty kill, in my opinion, is having that right shot center or right shot that can take draws. So yeah, for sure, he's going to get a good look. I think just to go back on that, you got to give Adam Henrique a ton of credit. He had that responsibility pretty much all year.
Right.
If there was a face-off on the penalty kill, he was the one taking it. Probably 85% of the time, 90% of the time on his offside, and to do the job he did, it's pretty remarkable. I mean, that's a lot of draws. Typically you're using 2-3 guys, and he was taking almost all of them. So he did a tremendous job on that.
Final question for you. I know that when Jake Woodcroft coached the Oilers, that 13-game stretch during the start of the 23-24 season, Mark, the Oilers used 23 sets of forwards in the first 13 games. We did not see a lot of Connor McDavid on the penalty kill until the playoffs. I will say, to me, it makes sense if the team's going to have 5 forwards on the ice on a power play unit, and we saw that a couple times in the playoffs. Break in case of emergency with McDavid, or counter program with McDavid. I think Toronto at times went 5 forwards, and somebody will correct me, and then LA definitely went 5 forwards. Any hesitation to deploying Connor, or would you like to kind of cut the minutes back for Connor and Leon a bit and save them for the power play and even strength?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a discussion with Chris and with Connor. Connor's willing to do anything. If you ask him to do anything, he's going to do it. He just wants to win. So I know there's no issue there, but it's our job as coaches to manage his load and to manage those minutes as well. I thought he did a great job on the penalty kill. With his skill set, he's a threat. He's a shorthanded threat. He picks off a lot of passes just with how quick and smart he is. So he, again, same as Bush, he helped us out a ton in the play. Same with Zach Hyman, in the playoffs before he got injured. So it's something we'll look at. I think you'll definitely see him on there at times. Not sure how much yet, but I'm sure you'll see him on the penalty kill at some point.
Mark, we appreciate you doing the interview. Sorry if we took you away from a little bit of family time, and thank you for joining us on Oilers Now.
Thanks a lot, Stuff. Appreciate it.
You bet. That is Mark Stewart, the Oilers assistant coach. He's going to run the defense, run the penalty kill.